Hi, everyone. Today I am listening to the weekly Patreon poll winner, and the chosen band is Talking Heads this time. I have listened to one Talking Heads song so far on this journey, and that is Life During Wartime. I understand today's song is rather important, a significant one, called Once in a Lifetime from 1981, and that it was produced and co-written by Brian Eno. David Byrne's vocals were inspired by preachers delivering sermons with lyrics about existential crisis and the unconscious. And I can't help but chuckle and say, rather appropriate for a band named Talking Heads, right? Once in a Lifetime was certified platinum in the UK in 2023. NPR named Once in a Lifetime one of the 100 most important American musical works of the 20th century. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame named it one of the 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. Rolling Stone placed it at number 28 on its 2021 list of the 500 greatest songs of all time, and named its music video the 81st best. I guess the one that intrigues me most is NPR's Once in a Lifetime list. And I'm curious to actually look up that list and see what else is on that list. If they are saying American musical works of the 20th century, do they have any classical works on that list? I've never even looked. So maybe a fun project for me after I'm done with this recording.
You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack, and you may find yourself in another part of the world, and you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile, and you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife, and you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground. And you may ask yourself, how do I work this? And you may ask yourself, where is that large automobile? And you may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful house. And you may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful wife. Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground. Same.
Okay. Well, for those of you who chose this, voted for this on the poll, I guess you know a little bit of my, I don't know, some of the things that make me laugh, my sense of humor. I get such a kick out of this one, really. It's so hilarious, and I don't know if it's I don't know if it's more funny because of the way that he is using this sort of preacher tone of voice in this context with this kind of music. I mean, it's kind of making fun of preachers. Or is it the other way around, that he is bringing this sort of traditionally recognized tone of, the way preachers speak as a way of getting you to think about these things here, and the message he has to give here, it as if he's saying, you guys who listen to this kind of music that just basically has a beat and a chirpy little chorus, you need to think about these grand things, these important things in your life. I don't know which one is more funny, but I guess the thing that strikes me as really funny is the fact that you find them both in the same song. It's parodying the preachers and it's parodying this musical style, both at the same time. And I think it's rich. It's good fun. And I have to comment on the video clip as well, because it also has some good bits of humor to it. This kind of blue background, which is obviously symbolizing water, although I don't think it's really water. And then he's floating across, but then all these little mini images of him floating as well. It's almost like you're watching a school of fish swimming through the water, you know. It is like kicking just a little bit, like a fish's tail swimming a little bit. It's so, I wouldn't call it subtle, but it's I might even say it's elegantly funny.
Same as it ever was. 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 Letting the days go by. Let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by. Water flowing underground into the blue again. After the body's gone. Once in a lifetime. Water flowing underground. You may.
Now, I'm going to bring in a piece of music here, which I'm mentioning it not because this really resembles a whole lot, but about the musical elements themselves. I've already talked about this really beat-centric style, which is what this music is. It's very beat-centric. And there's really not much else other than, I guess I called it a chirpy chorus, but it has this sort of chirpy, happy, and you could even take out some of the instrumental portions of it, put a bit of organ and piano with it, or a bit of brass, and it would start sounding more like a churchy chorus suitable for accompanying a preacher's sermon, right? So, but there is something else which I noticed early on, and I didn't really think of it as being particularly significant, but now as I'm listening to what's being sung, and as well as what's being represented on the screen here, this watery idea. This is not a sort of musical style that I would associate with water in its own right. I don't think of water in this way, really. I don't. Unless, I don't know, if ice cubes popping out of a ice cube tray, poppity poppity pop. But it's not water. It's not liquid. It's not a liquidy sound. But there is actually. In fact, I'm going to go back to the beginning here. So I'm at 217 right now. Let's go back because I noticed it early on. This, which is kind of like, is it wind? Is it birds? Like a flock of... And now here, this sort of... The synth quality upper... that stuff is really evoking a sort of watery world, in spite of the fact that the musical style itself doesn't really fit the feel of fluid, liquid water. And when I first heard that, I thought, oh, that's kind of watery sounding, not even knowing that it was going to play such a significant role in this whole piece of music. So we have this, which I'm trying to make up my mind. Would I say it sounds more like, to me it sounds a bit like the air flowing past a window in a vehicle, or plane or something. But then there are parts of it that sound like maybe some birds, water birds flying overhead. And I don't think it's trying to be too explicit. But there's enough there to suggest, in a very 20th century modern way, that we are conjuring the image of water. And so all that is to say, this piece, in some strange way, reminds me of Saint-Saëns' The Aquarium from Carnival of the Animals. And that piece too, that entire work, The Carnival of the Animals, was such a humorous and biting parody on other composers' works. That is another thing that makes me think of this kind of in the same general basket. A whole different musical style, of course. This is much simpler in its material that's being used, but it has that same sort of biting, sarcastic, and at the same time, just hilariously funny humor to it.
You may ask yourself, what is that?
Here you hear the watery sound again.
You may ask yourself, where does that highway go to? And you may ask yourself,
I just got another idea.
And you may say to yourself, my God, what have I done?
Again, brought to mind because of the preacher style voice and this watery liquidy sound, right? Think about what preachers are really after for in many sermons. They want to have somebody converted. They want to have somebody adopt the religion. They want to have a reason to baptize somebody. Again, featuring water. So this is bringing that in as well. Not really blatantly, but very visibly at the same time. And it's all because of his preacher tone of voice. I wouldn't think of that at all if he were singing in a different style. But because he is using this classic preacher's style, it brings all of these things, we could say this baggage that comes along with it, brings it into the musical experience here.
Am I wrong? And you may say to yourself, my God, what have I done?
And in the bass here. Into the blue again. Into the blue again. Letting the water hold me down. Water flowing underground. And this, after the money's gone, I can't help but say, money is a bit of the, well, of course it has this conflicted history in, kind of conflicted place in the history of American Christianity, doesn't it? The idea of preachers, especially as he's representing them, rather charismatic and crazy and even wacky. Again, he's bringing in, he's got things from both sides of the, should I say both sides of the aisle here? and these dance moves, as well as these gestures that clearly suggest somebody who's not quite right in the head, crazy, and perhaps even has some strange physical tics, and it is out of balance. And this money line, into the blue again after the money's gone, after the money's gone, comes back in every chorus, after the money's gone, after the money's gone. This song isn't really making me think that it's all about money. And yet this phrase keeps sticking out to me every time it comes, after the money is gone, after the money's gone, after the money's gone, as if it also is a kind of commentary on the prosperity, the wealth of some of the popular American preachers and churches, and this, letting the days go by, let the water hold me down, letting the days go by, water flowing underground, into the blue again after the money's gone. Once in a lifetime, water flowing underground. There is so much in here which could be applied in a sort of parable way to the life cycle of religious trends, of individuals, of power, and of course, as it said at the beginning, this is really tackling, dwelling on existential crisis, and the unconscious topics, subjects, but it also has this way of also bringing in, to me, to my ears, as I experience this song, you could say even one of the topics that preachers talk about, the fleeting quality of life, that it comes and it goes, but now it's applying it to the control and the power and the comfortable living that those preachers themselves many times possess, and saying, okay, these guys, they're going to come and they're going to go. They're all going to end up 6 feet underground, just like the rest of us. And there's this circle of this coming around. We could say it's a kind of karma. The idea that they'll get their just desserts just as much as we will. At the same time, it's not presenting it in a way that seems like it's specifically targeting them. And yet, you can't help but think of them. In fact, you can't help but think of anybody who has a sort of I wouldn't say holier than thou, but sort of righteous, I can hand out my wisdom to you. I have things to impart to you, words of wisdom to impart to you as you deal with the crises in your own life and your own world. You just follow my advice, and it doesn't matter whether it's a religious personality or other life advice personality. But we always get the feeling sometimes that these people do it because it's prosperous for them. And maybe they do want to help people, but there's this sort of arrogance about it. And the idea that I have something and I'm just going to hand it down to you poor people down there. And this piece, I guess the thing that I love so much about it, that I relish about it, is that it captures the ludicrousness of that attitude. And I'm not only speaking now of religious leaders. I'm speaking of anybody who takes the high seat in the room and sits there comfortably while they hand out their advices and commentaries to everybody else who is sitting a bit lower, or even quite a bit lower. And as I said, it feels so rich. And I love that about it. It makes me laugh and it makes me enjoy it. I like the way this bass is.
Look where my hand was. Time isn't holding up. Time isn't after us. Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was.
A bit like a rock being thrown into the water and just sinking to the bottom and disappearing. That was good fun. It certainly struck me in the humor department, and I enjoyed it. Thank you all for choosing it for me. I want to say a little bit more about the actual instrumental parts themselves. We have that watery sounding part. We have the preacher's delivery. We have this upbeat chorus, this happy, upbeat, and almost bordering on praise style chorus. We have the drums, which are pretty consistent throughout. The percussion is pretty consistent and straightforward. And then, as I was commenting in the last part, the bass, which has also been pretty consistent throughout. And the longer I listened to this piece, the more the piece went on, the more strangely it seemed to be, as much as I said that it doesn't strike me as a watery style of music, strangely it seemed to be bringing to my mind more and more images related to water. As I said, kind of like someone taking a stone and throwing it in, and you watch it sink to the bottom, and it's gone. And these little musical elements, which they don't have to be bringing to mind things relating to water, but the fact that the lyrics center around this shape my perception and my interpretation of how the music is commenting on the lyrics. This is a piece of music that I would say, and I've talked about this from time to time, some music, the lyrics are a commentary on the musical elements. Sometimes the music is a commentary on the lyrics. Sometimes it's not a commentary, but it's an enhancement or a revelation of either lyrics to music or music to lyrics. Sometimes it feels like the music and the lyrics just happened to be put together because, okay, you could make it do that, and it doesn't have a lot to say one towards the other. This is one of those songs where if I were going to describe the relationship between the lyrics and the music, I would say that the lyrics are the leader. They really are. The music doesn't have a lot to say without them. If we didn't have the singer and what's being sung, the music would be, okay, fine, whatever. We don't really care. But because we have these lyrics delivered in this manner, the music becomes a commentary and an expansion of what is being sung and what is being sung about. And it's always fun for me to think about this dynamic, the relationship between these two elements in a song, because we always have, when something is sung, well, I guess there are three elements, two main ones, but the third one, we have the lyrics, we have the music, and then we have the style of delivery of the lyrics. Here, we can't really call the style of delivery a musical style. It's not really being sung. And that's why I make that a sort of conditional third element in this whole dynamic between the two. Because the way the singer handles it is sometimes the thing that makes or breaks it, even if his handling of it and the thing that makes or breaks it has nothing to do with a specific musical style itself. It has to do with what I call interpretation. The performative performance presentation of it in any style, but how the singer handles it is a third element. And I would say he handled it brilliantly. I guess that was David Byrne. And I think he did a brilliant job. I think the whole thing came together really well. And again, thank you all for choosing this for me. It was fun and entertaining and nicely thought-provoking and incredibly enjoyable. I'm looking forward to what you choose next week, and I'll see you then.